That's fun. Jason with his technical trouble.
Google Chrome, what a pile of garbage.
And we're live!
Yay! Now push the
Yay.
purple button.
Nope, the purple is the transition button. The green button starts the show.
Ugh.
News, ops, and a little bit of paranoia. Welcome to the Sysadmin podcast.
All right. Paranoia. That's perfect for tonight.
Paranoia? Yes, paranoia is perfect for tonight. Welcome to tonight's show, the Sysadmin podcast. I'm your host, as always, Nate, and forgive me, I'm getting over a cold, which has nothing to do with the global pandemic, I assure you. So every time I take a deep breath, I have to cough. And I'm joined, as usual, by my co-host, Jason.
Who is remote away from the guy who's totally not infected with whatever it is he has.
Totally not infected. No, my youngest daughter had the flu about 3 weeks ago now, and it was the flu. We took her to the doctor. It was not the Coronageddon. And she's over it now. We both had our flu shots. My wife and I both got like mild symptoms, and mine manifested as a cough. And the worst of the cough is gone, and now I just have this annoying cough that doesn't seem to want to go away. So, anyway, in case you folks haven't heard, the world. I mean, I've seen this episode. At some point, one of us is going to wake up in the hospital, and humanity is going to be gone, right? And then we're going to have to wander around in our hospital gown.
Yeah, something like that. Then there's guns, and then
there's
lots
guns,
of cloning, and shooting of things, and
lots of senseless gore.
Yeah.
So anyway, in light of the news hype, we decided we're gonna try something kind of live on tonight's show, where we're gonna do kind of a tabletop exercise.
So what was the tweet? Oh, the tweet I saw earlier was, who decided it was a good idea to replace reality with a mix-up of Idiocracy and Shaun of the Dead?
I've never seen Idiocracy, but I have seen Shaun of the Dead, so I get that reference at least.
Yes, yeah. Well, if you saw Idiocracy, it would make a lot more sense.
Okay. So, at any rate, I see you coughing too, so don't you go blaming me.
That's the whiskey.
That's the whiskey. Okay.
Scotch, actually.
Scotch.
That one right down hard. So,
the idea I had for the main topic of the show tonight is we're going to game out a tabletop exercise. So, as anyone who works anywhere in the world, it seems at this point. Do you have dice?
Got my dice.
You do have dice. My dice are here somewhere. So, it seems like most companies that I interact with in the past 2 weeks have suddenly shifted to this like mandatory work from home program because everyone's trying to stay away from the public. Are you playing with your
social distancing?
Yes, social distancing.
You got to use the vernacular.
Or self-isolation, is that another one I've heard? That's when you're sick already, right? You're supposed to self-isolate?
Yeah, something like that.
So,
called quarantine.
Self-quarantine. Well, no, I've heard it. Well, whatever. So I have made up a fake company. And what we're going to do is Jason and I are going to play the part of an IT department who has been asked to figure out how to let the company continue to work without anybody coming into the office. So the company that I have cooked up, I'm calling them WidgetCo Incorporated because I'm not creative enough.
Very original.
Yep, very original. They have about 400 employees. Most of their employees are on-site only workers. They do not currently have a remote program, like a lot of employers nowadays do. They've got a mix of desktops and laptops, so not every employee has a mobile machine that they can work on. They have desktops and laptops. So, of course, those with laptops have laptops, and many don't. I didn't come up with a percentage. Maybe I should have. Percentage of how many people have it.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't really matter. We'll just have to come up with solutions for both. There's a sales team, which stand out only because they already have some mobile capabilities because they're a sales team, and salespeople generally travel more than your average worker. They've already got laptops, and they have remote access into the on-premise data center. Now, Widget Corp has two separate sort of hosting solutions, one of which is an on-premise data center because they're paranoid, which has all of their sensitive data, which has things like their sales and marketing information inside of, some sort of a customer management system or something. And sensitive files. I haven't really defined what's sensitive, but sensitive stuff they don't want on that evil, dirty cloud. They also have their telephone system, which is a PBX that's not VoIP capable in their on-premise data center, or at least somewhere on-prem. I listed it as in the data center, but whatever. It's on-prem. It's physical. And they have a small VPN appliance, which is scaled only for those mobile salespeople that I was talking about. So it's not capable of hosting all 400 employees at once for a given day of work. It's a smaller device that's meant just for sort of ad hoc VPN access for those road warriors that need to get back into look at their sales numbers or whatever when they're on the road. They also have a number of applications cloud hosted. Their email, their docs, call it Google Docs or call it Office 365. I don't care. It's one or the other. They're in the cloud. Calendar, and of course, their web presence is hosted in the cloud. So, and the scenario is, of course, that there's a global pandemic that the media has grossly blown out of proportion, and senior management has asked that IT find a way to enable all staff to work remotely. And they want to do it as soon as freaking possible, like maybe come Monday.
So, question one, how long do we have to laugh?
How long do we have to laugh? Well, I don't know. What scenario do we want to paint here? Are we in a meeting with the CIO at the moment, or are we just like in our own little office?
You know me. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to laugh at the guy. Yeah, good luck with that.
Roll one of your dice and figure out if we can laugh, and if one of us gets fired for it.
Let's see. Do I laugh? I rolled a 4.
That means yes, you laugh, because you'll laugh no matter what.
My job is tenuous at this point, but they can't fire me because, they're screwed if they do.
Right. Well, that didn't stop the last one.
Well, there also wasn't a global pandemic.
You're right. There wasn't a global pandemic. All right, so I guess let's get cooking on this, huh? It's been a while since I've had to problem solve to this level, which is why I'm looking forward to this show. I don't know about you.
It should be fun. So you say VPN appliance. That sounds like hardware.
Yeah, I'm thinking some kind of a blinky box that enables VPN access that is just like hanging off the network somewhere that lets people connect in.
Does said blinky box allow for additional licensing, and it's small in that it's licensing, or is it small in that it is small blinky box, and even with max licensing, you're getting nowhere near 400 employees? I don't know what the average VPN appliance does these days.
I was just going to say, as a networking person, can you inform me as to how these are normally sold?
They're usually they sell you the box, and it'll do up to, so take like the Cisco, whatever the hell they are. I don't even know what they have anymore. You get the box, and it has a number of interfaces on it that will do, usually 70% traffic or so, because they can't ever, fully saturate the thing. And then you pay a per seat license.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. Unless Widget Corp is a real penny pincher, and the appliance they have is from 1998 or something.
Yes, let's see. Cisco's VPN these days. Oh, good. 100% breach detection on their VPNs.
Awesome. Okay, so for the sake of the show, we're just going to say that, yes, it's a VPN appliance that is licensed for a half a dozen users, because that's how many salespeople we have.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was figuring. Okay. So, I think that's not going to support the entire workforce unless there's nothing in the on-prem data center that the workforce needs to get to.
Well, that's just it. The on-prem data center includes sensitive files, which is pretty generalized, right? That could be a lot of the workforce that might need access to that. I guess I should have gamed out a little more of what that workforce looks like, aside from just separating the sales team from everybody else. And then of hosting for the local sales and marketing, customer database. I would imagine that
46% of the sales, 46% of the employees are salespeople.
46% of the employees. That's a lot of salespeople.
It's Peloton.
It's Peloton. But I mean, whatever. I guess that works, right? 46% are salespeople. So, but I already said there were only 6 salespeople. That doesn't work out.
Oh, all right, fine. So it's a very small amount of salespeople. All right, so I mean, if lots of people are going to have to access the sensitive files on-prem, you're going to need to augment that VPN appliance quick.
Right. So, I mean, imagine things like folks who are doing billing are going to need access to that. Folks who are maybe support people, folks who are like inside sales, or if there is such a thing. When you've got 400 employees, I'd imagine that the sales team, like that's 6 people I'm talking about. Those are like the people in the field that are selling stuff, right?
Yeah, and I'm guessing that the rest of the people would have accessed those files from their office, which has a direct connect to the data center.
Right. So that's the reasoning that they have an on-premise data center. That's right. So that you can access it directly while you're at your desk at work.
Yeah. So let's tackle the easy one first. Telephone PBX. Forward your phone. Forward your phone.
Yep. To your cell phone, I suppose, right?
To cell phone, whatever. Most modern, most people, I think even non-modern ones, almost all PBXs allow you to dial in remotely and set up a forward. So that shouldn't be a major issue, and you can turn it on and off. And you know what? You're just gonna have to suffer with it.
Yep.
That's not a big deal.
I'm gonna put our answers in here in like blue or something in the show notes.
Okay.
So we have some. No, I know what I'll do. I'll do this. All right, go ahead. Keep talking.
Text format. Nate.
Someone's banging on my door. Anyway.
And then as far as the VPN goes, if it's an appliance, there's a limitation to the number of licenses you're going to be able to get. I would make sure that the IT people have licenses for, either regular or emergency use. And hopefully you've got some server space somewhere that you could spin up a VM or run a container or two and stand up something like OpenVPN.
It's just what I was thinking. So say we want to augment it outside. So obviously we can't order a new appliance and have it here overnight. No matter how much money you throw at a vendor, that never seems to happen. There's always a lead time, right?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, all of those devices are made, in countries hard hit by this global pandemic, and they're not being made right now.
Right. So, considering it's you and I that are the IT people, I'm going to say there's probably infrastructure available for us to do something like build an OpenVPN box.
Yeah, and
so I think
they have a lot, so IP should be readily available.
Yeah, I think that is probably the answer, right? Instead of trying to add license to the VPN appliance, I would just spin up that OpenVPN box.
Right, and licenses for OpenVPN are so because you're dealing with not all IT people, you would need something like OpenVPN access server to make it easy. So licenses for that are $15 a pop. Although at 400 employees, the price goes down. I don't remember what the breaks are, but you probably get it for, $10 a license. And I believe is that yearly? I don't even remember. Licenses. Purchase license now. Do it now. Oh, I gotta log in.
Now you're gonna buy licenses while we're on the show.
Yeah, we need some licenses.
All right, so that
it is $18 a year per device.
Oh, that ain't bad.
And it goes up by the number of years that you buy it for.
Okay.
Per device meaning the device that's connecting. So it's a per seat.
Okay, so that solves for the phone system and access to the on-premise data. That is the CRM database and the sensitive files.
Yep.
That doesn't cover how people are accessing it.
Yeah. So
Like what device are they using to access it? So like I said,
so,
the average employee is a mix of desktops and laptops. You want to roll your dice and figure out how many laptops we have versus desktops?
Sure.
Give me a percentage.
There are 40% are laptops.
40% are laptops.
So that's like 175 or something like that.
Yep, I did this wrong.
160.
160. Yeah, I was just I typoed something while I was doing it. I got the number 1,000, so that must have been that I multiplied or something.
So you have a problem at this point, and this is the one thing about the work from home stuff that I don't know that anybody is even really. I haven't seen anybody talking about this yet. So you have people that work at jobs where they are on the computer all day. And some of those people have computers at home, but not everybody will. I know it's, everybody has a computer, but that's not entirely true.
Well, there was a tipping point where that was mostly true, right? But that scale has tipped back toward like embedded devices like tablets and phones.
Yeah. So it's probably even less than I would think now.
Yeah.
So now you've got a problem as an employer. How do you let them take their desktops home? I mean, in a worst case scenario, if you know that this is going to be going on for a while,
that might be a solution.
That's not a horrible solution. Plus, on top of it, I mean, you're gonna lose some security here. Almost,
right.
It almost doesn't matter how you look at it, because you can either let people use their home machines, and
which is
doesn't look like this
possibly a security risk,
right? Which doesn't look like this sort of a place is ready for something like that, especially how they're set up. Or you can let them take the desktops home, in which case those people that don't have machines at home, well, company's not looking over my shoulder anymore.
Yep.
I can do what I want.
So what about, so there's nothing listed in here that shows any kind of VDI access, but don't places like Amazon sell VDI as a service?
You could do that. Now you're talking expense. So employee, company, VDI images. I mean, it's possible. I don't know what the cost is of that though. But that's definitely an option. If you need to have total control over the machines, that's possible. Of course, you still need a machine to get to the VDI instance. Which in that case, again, we're back to, you can use your home computer, or you could take the computer from work home. VDI allows you to have control over what they access though, and how they access it. So what less of a problem, if their machine gets infected with whatever, you're not as much at risk.
What I'm thinking is, excuse me, VDI as a service. If they do have, say, something like an iPad or an Android tablet at home, it's at least theoretically possible that they could get a desktop session from that device.
Yeah. And then you'll have workers clawing their eyes out after a week.
Yeah, right. It'll be inconvenient. I mean, you could hook a keyboard or something up to the thing, I suppose, to make it a little less of a pain in the ass. I mean, I've done remote desktop sessions from my phone or from a tablet.
Oh, bye.
And it is possible. I don't know that I want to do it frequently. It is frustrating.
Yeah, it's for the quick, oh crap, I have to restart this, or I need to do this real quick.
Right.
Not,
God damn it, Cold Fusion died again. I have to go restart it.
Yeah. Or
that was the context I was in.
Yeah. It's not, I need to sit down and write code, or I need to do billing now, or
Right. That's a whole other thing, right? Billing implies like printing and mailing.
Sometimes.
I didn't consider whether these folks were doing their bills, their own envelope stuffing or not. Probably not. I would assume that. I mean, does anyone do that anymore? Everyone sends it off to a billing company.
No,
now,
there's definitely people that do it. My father sends his own billing. So now you have to test the guy that's looking the envelopes and the stamps. Make sure he's not, looking COVID onto the envelope.
He could be sending coronavirus out of the mail.
Yeah. It's a tough one because, there's just an assumption that modern day employees have, computer access at home, and that's not always true.
Yeah. I mean, in IT, it's pretty common, right? Like when I was at that web host that I was at, it was whenever I had to work from home, they didn't give me a machine to take home with me. I just used my home machine, and I was careful.
Right.
And that was just expected, right? You work in IT, you probably have a computer at home. Average Sally from customer service, she may not. She may just have an iPad. She might have a Chromebook. She might have her phone. She might not even have any separate isolated device.
Think smaller companies that are in, rural areas. The people that work there may not be able to afford computers.
And the other thing to consider is
they're living paycheck to paycheck,
The other thing to consider is what kind of internet access do these people have at home?
Yep, there's that too.
If any, right? I actually have friends who do not have internet service. They just use the cellular on their phone.
Right. And I mean the other piece of this is, what does WidgetCo do? So I mean if they make
widgets.
If they're a web host, then something like this would work. But if they're a training company, for whatever, they're training stuff that needs hands-on to get certifications, there's only a limited number of people that can work remote, right? Like if the trainers are not there and the clients aren't coming into the company, you send everybody home all you want. Company's not making money anymore.
Holy crap. There is legitimately a company called WidgetCo.
It doesn't surprise me.
They're a manufacturing company. They make things out of cork.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So
now we know what WidgetCo does. These salespeople are out there selling corks and wine accessories.
Yep. So salespeople is a good one because salespeople still need to go out into the world and sell.
Right. So this is a valid point, right? So I don't think this is any secret. Red Hat has cut off travel. Like salespeople, whatever, we're not supposed to be traveling. There are exceptions to that, but we're not supposed to travel anywhere. But if you're a little company that depends on, like, I need to make sales every month in order to have income to pay my employees, what happens to you when there's, this pandemic and responsible people, responsible employers that are trying to look out for their employees,
responsible people
don't want to be sending their workers out into the world, right? How do you survive? So, I mean, that's a valid question. Does WidgetCo simply die at the end of this exercise because they don't have any more income?
Well,
I guess that's not necessarily our problem to solve, though. We just have to make sure that they can work.
Right, but I mean, even big companies have this problem. Look at Amazon, right? So,
yeah,
sure. I'm sure that the majority of the folks at Amazon that run AWS can work remotely.
Yeah.
And even those people that work in the data centers can mostly work remotely unless, they can just, unless there's an emergency or something has to happen, they don't go into the office.
I think I see where you're going.
What about the Amazon warehouses where things are getting packaged and sent out?
Knowing what I know about how Amazon runs their warehouses, they don't care. They're going to make you come to work anyway. They'll let you die on the floor.
I ordered stuff from Amazon today, and I don't care about coronavirus. That needs to come to the house. How am I going to survive without it?
Right.
I mean, it's a headphone adapter, but
still. But you need that headphone adapter.
I do.
Listen, I ordered a little robotics kit for my daughter, and that thing hasn't shipped yet. I'm blaming the coronavirus for this.
I would.
All right. So the sales team we've already got solved. They're already mobile. They've already got laptops. The overworked IT people is us. We'll let them figure it out.
What else do we have to cover?
So that actually covers most of it. The cloud stuff shouldn't be a problem, right?
No,
That's all
it
cloud.
really shouldn't. It's already clouded. So, although, I mean, there is another problem that hasn't fully reared its head yet, and that's
Okay.
WidgetCo is not the only company doing this.
That's true.
So now, like most of these cloud hosted, Office 365 and Google, and I mean, these guys shouldn't fall over because of increased traffic. In fact, I would not expect any increased traffic on SaaS services because most people already have them. They may get more customers out of it.
Yeah, but I mean, to them, it's just business as usual.
Yeah, it's just BAU. So the problem is going to be the ISPs, and I'm still on the NANOG list, and there's already chatter of like, hey, things are increasing a bit. There was there's an article. I don't think it was in our show notes. There's an article that I found. I should look it up and find it and put it in the show notes.
Yeah, throw it in there.
About the internet exchanges and the fact that they're starting to see, like record traffic.
Well, yeah, because more people are doing remote work, or
Yeah, because people are home.
right, they're at home working, accessing their office network, where normally they would have been local to that network, right?
Right. So here you go. DECIX, which is Germany, I believe. They peaked at 9 terabytes on the Internet Exchange recently. So it was 8 terabytes in December, and it just hit 9. And,
wow.
It's
just considerable when you're talking about terabyte.
Yeah, it is considerable, and that's one exchange. But I was seeing notes about other exchanges seeing let's see, Africa's largest internet exchange point, NAP Africa, is a terabyte peak of traffic. So this is potentially an issue.
I mean, it could be. I guess if that peaks, I mean the number sounds large, but I guess the real question is, what's their limit?
Right.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. Like when you hit the limit, you're toast.
Yeah, when you hit the limit, you hit the limit. Period. And how do you? Yeah, we're like talking through Armageddon here. Is what we're doing.
Right.
Like eventually, it's okay. We've hit the limit. We need more bandwidth. How do you get more bandwidth? You call up your backbone provider and get more bandwidth. But what if your backbone provider is also not present?
Yeah, well, these internet exchanges sort of are the backbone providers. Like they're not necessarily where the customers connect, but it's where all the internet connects together. So
I get it.
They are the providers that you have to deal with. So let's see. Is this one? This one doesn't say it's actually COVID related, although it's
so they're more or less like the interconnect, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. So they would increase bandwidth by physically installing more fiber or something.
Right. And internet
or
providers
gear
themselves, it depends heavily on what they're using in their network. So telcos, I think even our local company that we worked for, did we? No, we didn't. But telcos tend to use CWDM, which is coarse wave division multiplexing, which is light, right? So one of the things that you can do is depending on how saturated things get, you can just add another lambda, which is another wavelength of light, and you can get more bandwidth out of it that way. It's not cheap at all. It's very expensive. But a lot of companies would build using, you get the chassis to do it, and you buy the cards that you need to start, and then as you need more bandwidth, you just add more cards. That's a possibility, but not
But then
necessarily.
where do you get the cards? You have to order a card, wait for it to come in, right?
Right. Some of these places will have cards on standby for
Sure.
emergencies. Some of these places will have spares that they're ready to go.
I would think a spare would make sense. Yeah.
It depends. So that might be possible. Otherwise, this is one of those where, somebody gets in a truck and starts hanging wires.
Wow. That could be, that could take time.
Yeah.
Like physically installing more physical bandwidth.
You've been around when we've gotten bandwidth, like when we were working at the college, we needed bandwidth. I mean, that was a month.
Oh yeah.
Months.
Yeah.
There was a lot of other crud that was going in there, but it's not. It's not
sure.
trivial.
Interesting.
So
yeah,
it's
we've
gonna be interesting to see. Now, on the upside of this is that running out of bandwidth is not the end of the world. It just means that things slow down.
Yeah, until they get so saturated that they're not just slow, because that can happen.
It can. But I don't know.
If it's slow enough that things start to time out, then obviously it's not just slow anymore. Now it's an outage.
Right.
Because that it seems to cascade. I don't know why that is, but things will be like perfectly humming along. Then you hit just one little threshold, and boom, it's an outage. And you're like, what happened? Nothing changed. Nothing's down. Nothing's broken. Oh no, you just saturated that link that you were almost saturated yesterday, and now you've saturated it.
Right, and that causes something else to fail, and then that causes something else to fail.
Right.
There's your cascade.
Right.
It's like the electric grid cascades that have happened. There's another good question. I mean, we handle summertime with air conditioners all over the place. So right now, I don't think it'll be a major issue. But come summer, if people are all working from home, electrical is a consideration here.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like personally, I don't think I consume a whole lot more electricity here than when I'm not here. Well, if there's lights on and stuff.
Yeah, but take the summer, when if you're out working, you may not have your air conditioner. Like if I'm not here in the office during the summer, I don't turn my air conditioner in my office on.
Yeah.
But if I'm working from home all the time, well, that air conditioner is probably going to be on. This room gets hot sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's, people like their comfort.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's other aspects of work from home as well. So everybody starts working from home. A lot of people are not used to this. So
you lose productivity.
Right. In my house, my family knows that when I'm in the office, it's, I'm working. I get interrupted occasionally, but it's worked itself out over the number of years that I've been working from home that, I don't get interrupted every 5 minutes. I make sure that I make time while I'm working. I will go up and, take a 5-minute break or 10-minute break, talk to people, see what's going on, make sure everything's taken care of, whatever, and come back down to work. I'll go up for lunch, that sort of thing. But some people don't do that, especially if things like, you're working from home because of a pandemic, you have kids, they're
home too.
The pandemic.
Yeah.
Your children are not in daycare because of the pandemic. Well, now you have the kids to deal with, what do you do? You're going to get interrupted.
Yep. Yeah. And that could become a very real thing for you and I in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Well,
because
they're pretty autonomous, but
yeah, right. But there've been talks about our local school system either closing or going to a cyber solution.
Yeah, the inside scoop is that it's they're going to a cyber solution. They've already rolled it out.
Yeah.
And the inside skinny on it is that it's not if, it's when. And it looks like probably in the next week.
Yeah, I've heard next week, but I don't know. I guess there's some level of like approval that they have to get from the state or something that says, yes, you're allowed to do this.
Yeah,
and that's
the
what they're
state
working on
that's,
now.
in a state of emergency. That state.
Yeah, that state.
Okay. That's a whole other thing. So I was thinking about this too. I mean, I know we're sort of getting off a little bit off of
Yeah, well,
WidgetCo, but
we solved all of WidgetCo's problems. Now we're just moving on to our usual
yeah,
banter.
they're billionaires now.
They're all fine.
So the schools, right? So our local school district has decided, well, we may have to close. We need to go online, and we need to start doing online classes.
Yeah.
So they're working with. They use Schoology as their provider for. What is it? A grade book and all the stupid online stuff for the kids so they can track everything.
Is this the same thing that your son was using for a little while?
Yeah.
Or was that different?
No. Schoology is in the school district.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, it's not one of the homeschool things.
Okay, I get it now.
But they have partnered with Big Blue Button, I think is the name of the company.
That's a great name.
Big Blue Button. Big Blue Button.
Big Blue Button.
So it's my understanding is Schoology partnered with Big Blue Button to do the remote distance learning.
Okay.
Schoology's fairly embedded all over the place, which means Big Blue Button is now about to get, I don't know how many school districts, probably at least in the tens, if not hundreds.
Right.
How's that infrastructure going to work out?
Can they handle it? Right. That's where you're going? Right.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. They'll just spin up more AWS instances and Amazon.
And then can they handle it?
Right. It's like a cascade. Exactly. Same thing. So
can
the ISP take the load? Can the application you're using take the load? Can the application that they're using take the increased infrastructure? Right. It just goes and goes and goes. And Amazon is infinite, though. It's fine.
Right. And does Amazon go, oh, wow, look at all this increased load. That's a lot of demand, and drive the prices up?
Right. They wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Amazon is such a friendly company. They wouldn't do that.
Nobody would ever do that. So there's a lot of considerations. I mean, and we haven't even touched like just the normal living from home stuff. I know that personally, we have not gone to the store and stocked up on toilet paper yet. So
I know. I feel like we are lax in that as well.
I don't know what we're going to do.
Of all the things for people to be stocking up on, not food, toilet paper.
Do you have any idea? We have not been able to figure out why. Why?
The best I can figure, right? But this doesn't quite jive when you consider that people are not stockpiling food, right?
Yeah.
The best I can figure is like, hey, I might end up quarantined in my house. I may not be allowed to leave, or I may not want to leave because there's a chance that I will contract COVID-19. So I need to make sure I'm stocked up on essentials like toilet paper. That's the only reasoning I can think of as to why people are stocking up on toilet paper.
It's a respiratory illness. It
has
nothing to do. It's not toilet paper doesn't come into play here.
Right. I think you're thinking too direct.
Yeah, but maybe. Yeah, this is not norovirus. This is coronavirus. This is two different things.
Maybe they're confused.
My son was at Walmart yesterday. Our local Walmart. You're familiar with our local Walmart.
Yeah.
And people were going through the checkout piled high with toilet paper. He said there was no toilet paper in Walmart. None. It was all gone.
Yeah, no. I mean,
that's significant. That's a lot of toilet paper.
They do. They have an enormous wall of toilet paper, and now it's empty.
My concern is food. My concern is being able to go out and get food.
Yeah.
So, if everything starts closing, what are companies like Walmart going to do? What are our local mom and pop shops going to do? And then what about the deliveries to those places? Like that's my concern.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to get coronavirus. I'm not, whatever. It's going to happen. I think most of the world is going to have it. It's going to be like a seasonal flu thing moving forward. And the first year or two are going to suck. But it's going to be something I have to deal with. But those first year or two is I need food to eat. I have to keep myself up and going,
Yeah, I feel like all of these places closing, all of the, we can't go to school now, we all have to work from home. I think it's a knee-jerk reaction to something that the media has blown out of proportion.
It's not, I don't think it's a horrible, horrible thing.
No, it's not a horrible response,
Right.
but we didn't do this for all of the other viruses that have gone crazy in the past 10 years.
SARS.
Right. We didn't do it for SARS, right? We didn't do it for norovirus. We didn't do it for swine flu or bird flu.
Well, norovirus has been around forever, but
Yeah, but I mean, there was this epidemic of it a couple of years ago. The Ebola thing, we didn't quarantine the whole country.
no.
Why is this one different? Why is this special? I haven't found anything that tells me that this virus is in some way...
The speed of the spread, and honestly, I think it's the speed of the spread, and the fact that people are more social online and spreading a lot of misinformation. And look, the working from home thing, the closing school districts thing, I don't think it's a bad response.
Right.
I think it's a little bit overboard for everything to close.
Yeah.
I think that, there's going to be a lot of scared people that, are being told like, no, you have to come to work. Again, think big box stores, Walmart and supermarkets and, even Amazon. Like, I'm sorry, you're going to have to come to work. Like, that's how our company makes money. And that's how the economy continues to move forward. And, oh, by the way, people have to have this stuff to live.
Yeah, right. You are now essential to people continuing life. Like food stores have to be open and things like that.
I think the other things closing is actually not a horrible thing, because that's going to take some of the spread off. So, look, kids are a cesspool of germs.
Yeah.
And Corona's particularly bad there because the kids get it and they just go cough, cough. Okay, I'm better. Meanwhile, mom and dad and grandma and grandpa are like, dying on the floor because it doesn't affect kids the same way. They seem to get a mild cough and fever maybe, and then they're done. So sort of pulling them out and not letting them congregate so that one small infection doesn't turn into the entire town being infected is not a bad thing. I'm just my concern on at that aspect is just the panic that comes with it. Like, there's a lot of people. I've watched people in the past 2 weeks that I would have thought were incredibly level-headed, that are like, I've seen what they're doing now, and I'm like, you sure you're okay? Like, this isn't Armageddon, man. Like, you have the houses packed with food, and I'm going to close the door and I'm never coming out. Like, I thought you were pretty level-headed. Like, this is a little bit overboard.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You and I, we worked together through like 2 or 3 of these things. And I mean, I don't remember it ever getting this bad. And like I said, those were much larger epidemics. A lot more people were sick. A lot more people were died. The symptoms were a lot worse. I don't know if it's just because this is just the beginning of this one or what, but it does not feel, if you look at the numbers, it does not feel as bad as swine flu and bird flu and SARS.
I think the numbers exceeded SARS at this point.
Did they?
I think so. I'm not an expert, but I think they may have. But the other issue is that it's hit the U.S. harder than a bunch of those other ones have.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I'm honest, I think this is the mild part. Because if this grows, if this matches some of the epidemiological charts that I'm aware of, up until summer, like, enjoy it, because this is, come next winter, it's going to be 10 times worse, because now it's embedded everywhere and it's just going to rise up all over the place, like the flu does.
Yeah.
It's not
how
like
that works.
The flu.
You know more about viruses than I do.
Yeah, the flu doesn't really start in like one area and then break out and then affect the rest of the world. The flu has been around a while, so it starts in lots of different areas all at once. And if coronavirus does that with the spread that it's got now, it's going to take everything over really quick. And this is probably good exercise getting ready for it. And then in a year and a half, 2 years, we'll probably have a vaccine, and then we can fight the anti-vaxxers and deal with that. So.
I don't I mean, that must be true of all of the other viruses we've encountered over the years then. The swine flu and the bird flu and whatnot, right?
Yeah. I think the big difference is that those seem to hit and die out and didn't come back.
Right.
And
so do we really know that this will?
We don't.
Right.
From what I understand, we don't. Enough time hasn't passed.
Right.
They're finding out new things. Like today, my son was telling me, I think it was my son. No, a friend of mine was telling me there was an article that was put out about. So you've heard of the people that had coronavirus and got better, and then they tested them and they had coronavirus again, and they were thinking that they were getting reinfected.
Right.
So and to be clear, I have not vetted this, and I don't know that this has been 100% confirmed, but it comes from a reputable source. What they have found is that, well, no, they didn't get coronavirus again. You shed it for 5 weeks after you've had it. So this whole 2-week quarantine is not effective. You know, if you had coronavirus and you get over it and they put you in a hole for 2 weeks and you come out, you got 3 weeks to infect people.
What I read was that the 2-week quarantine was if you've been somewhere you think you may have been exposed to coronavirus, you should self-quarantine for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's because it takes about 14 days at the outer end for symptoms to manifest.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's the after you've gotten rid of it, they were saying, at least initially they were saying the same basic thing, like don't go near people for a couple weeks and et cetera.
Right.
But it's turned out that's like 5 weeks. You need to quarantine people for another 5 weeks.
So this isn't like the flu, right, where you have it and then once you're better, you're better. This is you're better, but you're still contagious?
Yeah, much like norovirus. So norovirus, you get it, you get sick, you throw up all over the place, things come out of every orifice. You get better, you're like, cool. I think it's 2 weeks. You shed norovirus for 2 weeks. So if you've had it, and norovirus is incredibly contagious.
Yeah, that's like ridiculously contagious.
The next 2 weeks, pretty much anybody you come in contact with can get it.
Wow.
Yeah, so that one's particularly bad. I don't think coronavirus is. How contagious coronavirus is still up in the air. So there were a couple articles that were saying it's airborne and on surfaces, and it lasts a while. But there's some other talk that says that might not be completely true, and it's only certain conditions, and so there's still a lot to learn.
Yeah, I was just reading about that earlier today because I was curious because there's so much misinformation flying around. Thank you, social media. Thank you, media in general. There's so much of that flying around that I was just like trying to debunk a few of them because it was kind of on my mind when I was planning for the show and whatnot. And one of them was I had heard a week or two ago, oh yeah, it's airborne now. And I'm like, was that hype? Was someone just trying to scare everybody? And I looked it up and I pretty much found what you just said, where it's like, that depends.
Yeah, I mean, this
we're not quite sure.
This could be similar to chickenpox.
Yeah.
Everybody gets it. And once they get it, they're pretty much immune to it.
Yeah.
Right. There's exceptions, but you're pretty much not going to get it again.
Yeah.
Or it could be like flu, where you get it and the next year you get it again. Now the flu mutates constantly.
Yeah, the flu changes. Yeah.
And coronavirus appears to be mutating as well. There have been 3 or 4 different variants that they found already. So it it seems to be leaning more towards the flu model than something like a chickenpox model. So but again, there is a lot we don't know, a humongous amount we don't know. And, the number one biggest piece of advice that I've seen across virologists that I've listened to, epidemiologists that I've listened to, people that have talked to various virologists, epidemiologists, the CDC, the WHO, like all of these people, wash your damn hands constantly.
Yeah.
And it's warm water, soap. You don't need to have this antibacterial soap is garbage. Just don't waste your time. Just bar soap, wash your hands, 30 seconds minimum.
CDC says 20.
Okay.
Literally the article I sent you earlier today said 20. So, but I've heard 30 seconds. An extra 10 seconds ain't gonna hurt you. It might dry your skin out. So keep some moisturizer.
And what you think is 30 seconds, unless you're counting, is probably 20 seconds anyway. So.
Oh yeah, right. And the human brain isn't really great at counting second by second. So,
Yeah, and there's an upside to this too. So if a lot of people, like if the majority of people start doing this, cough into your elbow.
Yep.
Do what you can to stop touching your face. Wash your hands constantly.
I'm touching my face all the time.
That prevents
Bad habit of mine.
Everybody does. That will actually prevent flu as well. We might end up having like one of the mildest flu seasons in history because of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've always chalked up the fact that I don't get sick very often to the fact that I have a good immune system, but I think a lot of that is because I do wash my hands a lot.
Yeah,
I do have a bad habit of touching my face and like the beard and stuff, but yeah, it's just I know a lot of people that don't, they don't wash their hands that frequently.
Right.
And well,
and
whatever.
Look, if you're in the bathroom and you go to the bathroom, wash your damn hands.
Oh yeah,
it doesn't matter. It's gross. Wash your hands.
Yeah, absolutely. So
all right.
At any rate, I think we've talked that far enough through. We've saved Widget Corp. They can now work remotely on Monday like they want to. They might spend some money to do it though.
They're going to spend some money to do it.
They're definitely going to spend some money.
Well, that's the other thing. We talked about this before the show. I'm curious to see how many companies after this increase the number of work from home opportunities there are, because you know this as well as I do. Like, I get so much more work done when I'm home.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the day. There are days where I feel like if I was in an office, I would feel more obligated to do work. But when I'm actually when the brain is engaged, I get so much more done because I can focus more. There's no distractions.
Yeah, I feel like as if you average it over time, I think I get substantially more work done than I do when I'm in an office. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that it's a problem for me, but there's probably maybe a day a week where it's just like my brain is not there,
sure,
and it's hard to keep focused, and it's hard
in the office too.
Yeah, it does happen in the office, but in the office, you're more inclined to at least appear busy. Where here, I can just be like, yeah, I don't feel like working.
I would almost argue that just leaning back and saying I don't feel like working right now is better, because it is. I would say it is. At that point, you're going to relax and you're going to gain your energy back faster than trying to sit at your desk and look like you're working.
Yeah.
You're too busy calculating like, oh, well, if Steve comes over and talks to me, I got to say this. But if Mary comes over, I got to say this other thing. Like, I got to have answers for all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually, we've been considering homeschooling our kids. And if they do sort of force this on us, it'll be like a nice trial. You know what I mean? So I'm almost looking forward to that, to see how it works out, see if the kids can deal with it, see if we can deal with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Socialization is the piece that you missed with that. But
yeah, I mean, our kids are involved in enough things that I don't think that'll be a huge problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. And I don't know. That's part of the struggle.
So cool.
All right,
so push the fuchsia button.
The fuchsia, but it's not fuchsia, it's purple. So now we have to change the color of the buttons just to throw you off. Because now you're learning.
Lavender. Lilac. The violet.
Lavender's
the violet button. Periwinkle.
Push the violet.
Push the periwinkle button.
I'm gonna name the buttons or something. Call it Frank.
Push Bob.
Push Bob. All right. So moving on to announcements. We didn't really feel. Oh, we probably have a lot of announcements that are not in the notes right now because things are moving all over the place. So I'm going to do the usual Patreon thing, and I know you probably have a thing to talk about for Whopper Summit, so if you want to prepare for that while I'm going through this. So, Patreon, we have 12 patrons. I don't think that's changed since last time. I'm going to rattle through the names here and say thank you to each and every one of you for being patrons of the show. 22532, again, our longest running patron. Thank you a ton for being there as long as you have. Andy, Charles, Dementor, who we had on the show a couple weeks ago. Well, probably like 2 months ago now. Gimpy B, Jay. Hi, Jay. That's you. Jason B, John, Julius, Mark with a C, Mark with a K, and Ryan. Thank you, each and every one of you. And Jason has dropped off the show. This is not good. He closed the wrong window again, I guarantee it. So, that's the Patreon update. Thank you, folks, for being patrons. I'm going to keep rambling on until Jason rejoins. Maybe I'll just go straight into reviews, and he can talk about Whopper afterward. Oh, I have something of an announcement. Being a Red Hat employee now, if you didn't hear, Red Hat Summit has been converted from a normal, a conference to a virtual event, and it is now free. If you had tickets, they're going to be refunded, or you can convert them to a ticket for next year's conference, which I think, unless they change this for some reason, should be in Boston. This year's would have been in San Francisco. And excuse me. And it looks like Jason is back. Hi. Here, we'll add him back in. You're back. Did you close the wrong one, or did the internets die on you?
Oh, Chrome is the worst. I wasn't even in the Chrome window. I was in.
Did it just close on you?
I don't know.
So anyway, I was just telling the viewers that Red Hat Summit has been converted to a virtual conference this year, and it's free. So if you ever, I know you've wanted to go to Summit for years. Now is your chance.
Yeah, but I can't have beers with people.
You can't have beers with people, and that is
I guess I could virtually, but
Summit is I've been to Summit 3 times now, or is it 4?
Yeah, rub it in.
And there was a chance I was going to go this year, so I'm really kind of bummed that they did this. But Summit is a great place to just go hang out with people, have a beer or two, have some good snacks and hors d'oeuvres, and just sort of talk to people that are in the communities that you like to be part of, right? So like Fedora or, different Red Hat projects or a bunch of vendors. And the talks are usually spot on. So if you guys haven't been to a Summit and you're ever curious about what kind of talks at least you might see at Summit, this year it's free and you can do it online. Once I have a link for people to register, I will certainly share it. So, good stuff. Summit. So, did you get your stuff about Whopper? Can we talk about Whopper now? Whopper Summit?
Yeah, so I know I've been pumping Whopper Summit quite a bit, but
yep.
We are the update is on the Whopper Summit page, but due to the COVID-19 blah 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 blah, we are postponing Whopper Summit until September. So they don't have the dates on here yet, but it will be September. It's like the third weekend in September, I think, the 18th through the 20th, maybe. That sounds. Oh, there it is. September 18th to 20th. It is in the update. So, so here's the deal. If you have a hotel for Whopper, cancel it. Good
there's
idea. Plenty of time to cancel before Whopper Summit, and they shouldn't give you a hard time. If they do give you a hard time, there is an email address to send information to, and we will assist. It's canary@whoppersummit.org. That's our COVID canary. Did they put in here that the COVID canary is dead? That was the big joke. Anyway, so we'll help you make sure that that's taken care of. Don't get rid of your ticket. Hang on to your ticket. Anybody who has a ticket before June, you're going to get an SAO Whopper pin that you can wear at the event to, demonstrate your support of Whopper. And it's a little extra that, people who register later are not going to get. So we're honoring all tickets. If you can't make it, I believe, don't quote me, but I don't see it in here. I'm pretty sure that we're refunding if you're not going to be able to make it. Again, email and find out, and we'll take care of it. It sucks. We wanted to have it anyway, but Philly has coronavirus, so better safe than sorry. And
yep,
that's what we're doing.
Well, that's 2 conferences down, and there are a bunch that have been canceled or postponed. South by Southwest, did you hear? South by Southwest got canceled this year. First time in 34 years.
Yep. Here's one for you. DEF CON might be getting canceled.
Wow.
And
DEF CON's not till August.
That's the big joke every year is that DEF CON
It
was
is.
canceled. And this year, DEF CON China had already been canceled or postponed.
Yeah.
And
that makes perfect sense.
They're already talking about whether or not they're going to cancel DEF CON.
As far out as August? You really think so?
Yeah. Hope is talking about it. DEF CON has been talking about it. There's a bunch of different conferences that are still coming up. There was one that I saw. I can't remember which one it was that was saying they're not until June or July, and they say they're basically saying, look, we don't want to cancel. We want to have this.
Yeah.
And there is plenty of time between now and then for us to make a decision, and we're just going to monitor.
Yeah.
We don't want to prematurely cancel, and then, the time rolls around and nothing's going on. But since Whopper is in 2 weeks and, everything is heating up here, we figured we'll step back right now.
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense for Whopper, but for them to even be talking about canceling DEF CON, which is at the middle of summer.
Right. Well,
that feels premature to me.
No, well, like I said, they're talking about it. No definitive plans have been made. But I mean,
there's school districts that are like, oh yeah, we're going to close for a week, and to me, that's like, why? Why are you closing for 1 week? Like it's going to be any better in a week?
I don't know.
A month, I would say, but yeah.
One thing that Whopper is doing is we're working to hold mini Whoppers at other conferences. So think of it as like a slightly larger hardware hacking village at local conferences in different areas. So I'll be talking to the B-Sides crew and seeing if we can get them in there, and so that's
cool.
something that we may end up doing, and that may turn into something bigger. So we'll see.
Cool. All right, is that all the announcements we have? I'm sure you're going to fill in the Whopper stuff in the notes, so we'll have that when I post the show. If anybody wants to find the informational page that Jason was just talking about.
Yeah, it's right on the front page, but I'll put it in there.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna say it out loud as I type it. Whopper. Go ahead.
All right, then moving right on into reviews. We actually have a couple things to talk about. We got a review on iTunes. I think this is iTunes. You sent this to me. Yeah, Apple Podcasts right there. Must be iTunes. Yep. It's Apple Podcasts, not iTunes.
Yes.
Welsh One Lad, who I believe we've interacted with through YouTube in the past. I recognize the name. I forget where from. Unless I don't know. He gave us 4 stars, and he says, the show continues to improve, even more so since the host has joined. You keep typing, and it's moving this down while I'm trying to read it. Even more so since the host has joined Red Hat, and we're getting more hosts. I think he means guests on the show than before. And God, stop it! Anyway, he says Sysadmin, I don't know if he means Iron Sysadmin, but I think he just says Sysadmin is a good place to listen to real-world news and issues that are brought up in the news slot. The 2 hosts bounce off each other pretty well. I don't know. Does that make both of us rubber? Wasn't it one of us rubbers, the other one's glue?
I find it hard to bounce off
There's
of you.
There's no bouncing. There's no bouncing involved. 2 of us bounce off each other well, yeah, and seem clued in on the subjects that they bring up. It's a good show. Keep up the good work. So thank you, not Trooper. Trooper's the next one. Thank you, Welsh One Lad, for the review. And the other is just a comment we got on YouTube from Trooper-ish, who I think is watching right now. Hi, Trooper. He was in the comments. So anyway, hi, if you're still there. Now I went and clicked on the wrong thing. Where did it go? There it is.
Next thing you know, you're gonna close the app, and it's all.
Yup, and then I'll get the rejoin, start the stream again. He simply is lamenting the fact that he missed our live stream last time around, because I think it's probably because we went live late because of Uncle Mark and his family commitments. But remember, if you subscribe and you hit the notification bell, you'll know when we go live. So, and maybe that's how you were sure to catch us this time. I don't know.
And he says hi in the chat. So
Yeah, I see. Hi. There. That's good.
He or she or they or them or it.
Them. Hi, them. Trooper. So yeah, don't forget to hit that notification, and then you'll know when we go live. Unless like your phone was on mute or something and you didn't get it. That's possible. And that's it for reviews.
Get a wristy device that buzzes for you.
There you go. Get a wristy device. It's like, remember the old like James Bond wristwatch that does everything? We finally have those.
Including people?
Except they don't have like lasers like they used to. They used to have like lasers and little guns and like whatever.
My watch has laser on it.
Does it have a laser? Can you like melt through a steel door that you've been trapped behind?
It points down and
it doesn't
reads my pulse.
That's a different kind of. That's not the same kind of laser. I mean, like the lasers we were promised in spy films that you can like cut through bank vault doors with.
Yeah. You get a free watch that has a laser in that when you get your flying car.
Damn. Touche. Freaking flying cars. We were supposed to have flying cars by now and hoverboards. Anyway, I think that covers that. I don't know that we have much to chat about. You have anything cool going on? How's your bar top gaming system going? Get that thing done yet?
It works. I built it. It works.
Awesome.
It plays games. I still have I used a Raspberry Pi 4. I got the 4 gig version because I figure I might as well get whatever the best is because it will be able to, has more horsepower. It should be able to emulate better. The problem is that there's no RetroPie for it yet, and there's no recall box for it yet. So there's no Raspberry Pi 4 versions of that software yet. So I'm using something called Laka.
I've heard of this,
which is neat. It has like the interface is like a PlayStation interface. So I'm not overly thrilled with it, but it works.
You don't like PlayStation?
I never really enjoyed their interface.
Okay.
But so it works. It seems to work. The games play. If I play a MAME game, it's almost perfect. Both
really?
Controllers work. The buttons work. Cool. I've got sound. Everything's awesome. If I do like a Nintendo or a Game Boy or even Atari emulation, the controllers get stupid. So I have 2 controllers. The system sees it as 2 individual controllers, but when you emulate anything that's a console, only the right-hand controller works.
That's interesting.
I don't know why. I have not figured out what the hell's going on yet. So I still have some more work to do on it, and I'm hoping the internet dumps a bunch of ROMs on my computer so that I have more games to play.
I thought you already had like 1 billion of them or something. Didn't you have all the games ever?
Oh yeah. Oh, I want to get a bunch of MAME. I don't have a lot of MAME games. So I have a bunch of Metal Slugs. I've got I have: The Simpsons, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Marvel vs. Capcom. So and they're fun. They're a lot of fun.
The MAME stuff was always difficult for me because I tinkered with MAME years and years and years ago, and the emulation just wasn't there. So you'd fire up a MAME ROM, and even though it's like a game from 10 years ago, it still ran like crap because of the emulation. The emulation wasn't there. I don't know if that's gotten better.
It's gotten a bit better. So I think Metal Slug 2 runs a little bit slow, but there's 5 or 6 different MAME emulators on the different ROMs for emulate, or different cores, they call them, different cores for emulating MAME. And I haven't gone through all of them, so I'm sure some work better for others.
Okay.
So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I know you like Gauntlet. You may remember
Gauntlet ROM.
Well, you may remember there was like a successor to Gauntlet called Gauntlet Legends.
Yes.
I used to play that in the arcade. Like when I was in college, I would like skip class to go play Gauntlet Legends in the local arcade, and that was the game I was trying to run. And I did finally get the ROM. I don't know if I still have it. If I can find it, I'll see if I can get it to you. But I did finally get the ROM, but it wouldn't play on anything. It would play, but it was so horribly slow that it was just unusable, unplayable.
There's a disturbingly large number of Gauntlet games. Some of these
Really?
are just because they're on different consoles, but
Oh yeah, the console one was not the same.
oh look, Gauntlet Dark Legacy, Gauntlet Legends,
Gauntlet Legends is the one I played.
Gauntlet 2, Gauntlet Revision 14, Gauntlet Revision 1.
Lots of gauntlets.
Yeah, so I need to write a scraper for this thing. I think I looked it up. They had I think it was on this one. There's like, I don't know, like something like 5 terabytes of games or something.
Wow. So I've been working on a Jeep-related project that involves lots of metal and grinders and a welder. I'm making a front bumper for my Jeep, and it's been a lot of fun.
Weren't you making the front bumper for the Jeep last time we talked?
I think I was just starting it. It's a sort of thing where I bought the steel probably a month and a half ago. And then there were a few other things I had to get. I had to find the time to work on it and all that kind of stuff. But now I'm actually working on it. It's about, I'd call it at least halfway done.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be cool when it's done, as long as everything works right. As long as I get it all shaped in the right shape and all that stuff. A lot of work. So much work. Like fabrication shops.
So are you going like Mad Max style or
No. I'm
well,
a very like, a lot of people build vehicles, trucks especially, like to the freaking hilt, where they've got like all this insanity, like the big brush guard and the big hoop in the front and like the cow catcher and all that crap. I'm not that guy. I like a very sleek, very simple, very functional vehicle, and that's going to come through with this thing. I'm working on a couple fun like styling pieces with some angles that I'm working on, so that should look pretty cool. But that's about as fancy as it's going to get. So yeah, I think it's going to be cool, and it'll have a nice spot to put a winch, which I don't have yet, but I will hopefully soon. And then I've been an off-roader for like 20 years, and I've never owned a winch, which some people are like floored when I say that, because that's like the first thing everybody does when they buy a Jeep. They get a new bumper. They just go out and buy one, whatever they can find, and they put a winch on it. Even if they're not going off-road, they just have to have that winch. Because
how do you live without a winch?
Because it's the look, right? They want the look. And I never wheel alone, which is like kind of a best practice. Don't go out alone. So I've never needed a winch. I've always just had someone else there to help. But I figure with more guiding and leading that I'm doing, I should probably have a winch now. So
yeah. If you're the one that's getting pulled out and you're the guide, that's,
if I'm the one leading, I should probably have all the stuff at my disposal that I need. So yeah. But
cool. Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's cool. If anybody's interested, I can certainly share information about it on the show when it's done. If no one cares, then I won't bother. All right, so we can probably talk about the news. What do you think?
Sounds like fun.
I have a button to push first.
It's the violet one. You can tell by the music. It's the violent button.
The violent button. All right. So first up in the news is actually I don't know. Does Lifehacker publish articles? I suppose they do. It's a life hack.
It's a blog.
It's not quite a life hack.
Blog.
Yeah. Okay. There's a blog from Lifehacker. Basically, they are sharing information about, I guess, just 4 apps that were advertised as security apps for both Android and iOS that were actually spying on us. I didn't look at the details. Yeah, right. I didn't look at the details on exactly how they're spying on us. But the 4 apps are, and I'll list the platform they're on as well, so you know whether you're affected or not. AdBlock Focus, which is both Android and iOS. Free and Unlimited VPN, which is on Android. Luna VPN, which is Android and iOS. And Mobile Data. Who names their app Mobile Data? That just sounds sketchy. That's on Android.
So does Free and Unlimited VPN.
Yeah, Free and Unlimited VPN sounds kind of sketchy too.
Remember, kids, if it's free and unlimited,
it's Probably
You're the product.
if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Who was it that said that? Wasn't it like some famous person?
Probably.
I'm going to say Abraham Lincoln because that's what everybody quotes. Now I'm going to have to go look that up.
So they were these apps were able to track data by gaining root access to the files and folders, and that is something that neither Google nor Apple allow.
Yeah,
and
that is kind of weird.
The developers are using loopholes to get around it. Yeah. Enjoy your free spam.
Yeah. And in the 2 minutes I've looked, I can't find who coined that phrase. So someone else can go look it up.
The data was collected and sent to something called Sensor Tower, which is a cross-platform analytics platform.
Interesting.
And none of these apps have said what they're doing with the data or what they're tracking or anything. They're just
I'm sure it's
them on there and
totally nothing to worry about. This is all above board. Not anything to worry about.
Yeah. So I mean, the app goes into the normal "Hey stupid," your VPN app asking for permission to your camera. Probably don't need to do that.
Yeah, that is the kind of thing that you need to be wary of.
Your ad blocker asking for access to your file folders, again, probably don't need to do that.
Yeah, right.
So, look at the permissions when they're popping up and stop just hitting yes. It's not a EULA.
Yeah, except the EULA. The EULA's fine. That's only a legally binding agreement.
Whatever.
But access to your camera? No.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yep. So, speaking of cameras
and lots of other things. So Forbes, I'm actually kind of surprised now that I'm looking at this that this is on Forbes. Forbes doesn't sound like the sort of site you would find information about leaks from Apple on, right? But whatever, here it is. Apple accidentally just confirmed its radical iPhone upgrades. And get away from here, you silly ad that's going to play at me. Let's see here. I read through this whole thing and now I'm drawing a blank. But basically, I think it was an accidental release of some of their, was it the source? Not source, but some of the code for iOS 14.
Yeah, which I'm jealous of.
Yeah, right. So the big thing they're talking about here is there's been rumors, I guess, of a budget iPhone. Right. And this sort of confirms it. Some of this, of course, is speculation, but I guess some of the code or some of the features that they found within the code that they grabbed does confirm that there will be, I think they're speculating it's going to be called an iPhone 9, which is strange. Why they would hold the 9 for a budget phone, I think it's strange. But whatever, it's they don't have pictures or whatever in here, but they're supposedly rendering somewhere on the internet of what this thing is supposed to look like, and they called it retro, which I'm guessing probably means it doesn't look like an iPhone 10 because that qualifies as retro anymore. But it's going to be a price point of around $400 is, again, speculation. So an iPhone for $400, they think that's going to be a pretty popular thing.
Yeah, I think the retro design, well, first of all, it's Touch ID. And I think the retro design was, I want to say, I don't know if it's in here, but I think one of the things mentioned about the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 9 is that they're going back to the squared corners on the phone.
Let's look here.
Which I guess everybody really liked.
Leaks confirm
and
iPhone 9.
Let's see, iPhone 9 is supposed to have the same chipset that the iPhone 11 has.
So the images that I'm finding here of the iPhone 9, supposedly leaked images, looks very similar to the iPhone 8 that I had.
Yeah.
Which had Touch ID.
Which is very rendered.
Had the rounded corners.
Oh, rounded, rather. Very rendered. Yeah, very rounded.
Yeah. I didn't hate the design of that phone. It was not a bad phone. It fit in the hand well. It wasn't too big. There's moments I regret that I picked up the Pixel XL instead of the standard Pixel, because the standard Pixel is more similar to the size of the iPhone that I had.
Right.
There's other times I love that large screen though, so it's kind of a toss up. But anyway,
Yep. So the new flagship iPhones are supposed to have all the latest technology and cameras. You know, I don't know. There's gonna be like 60 cameras on the back that 12 megapixels,
What they
12,000
say, like,
megapixels, and
was it? No, it was like, what was it? It was like 64 megapixel.
yeah. So the
Isn't that what it
primary
said?
camera,
Where is it
the
here?
primary camera will be 64 megapixel.
Yeah.
And
It's insane.
potential move to the same pixel binning technology that the Galaxy S20 uses.
Did you find out what pixel binning is? You were looking that up when I was doing the
so
intro.
it's basically smaller pixels used to sort of make up what a larger pixel size. It's
Get like a more
pretty common in the cameras now.
more dense pixel out of it or something.
Yeah, so you get a higher pixel density and get better pictures out of it, I guess. And a humongous battery, which they're speculating is for 5G.
Yeah.
5G is a waste of money, people. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
5G is a waste of money, huh?
5G, so 5G, so the S20s have the S20 Ultra Super Awesome Max, fantastic one has 5G in it, and every review I've heard on this thing says, you're not going to get 5G anywhere. So
Currently, yeah.
if you're buying it for 5G, and the way that the phones work today, if you're buying a phone today for 5G, chances are when you go to buy your phone next year, you're still not going to have 5G unless you live in like New York or California.
Right.
Like in a big city. And
So
even then they were saying that 5G is not like it's not dense, and it's just not as good as people think it's going to be.
Yeah, I was just curious to see if the Pixel 4 is 5G. I didn't think it was. It's not.
Yeah.
So, and I'm honestly not that worried about that. My phone is so like any new technology, right? So 5G is supposed to change the world, right? That's what they're touting anyway.
Yeah.
Because
So
you can get
still work from home.
like gigabit in your pocket, right? I don't think that's going to be realistic anytime soon.
Is that a gigabit in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
It's totally a gigabit in my pocket. So, yeah, I'm not too worried about 5G. 4G or LTE or whatever the hell you want to call it, it has served my needs in a handheld device just fine. I still have my cable internet service at home, which works just fine for all of my other needs. Now, would it be awesome if I could simply pay one provider for both my internet access on my phone and my home, and that was fast enough and it was gigabit? That might be cool. But I don't think the world's ready for that. At least the U.S. is not ready for that yet. We're still buying toilet paper because we're afraid of coronavirus. So,
right. And the other thing that I found with 5G is to get the higher speeds, they're using very high frequencies, like in the 6 gigahertz range.
Yeah.
That's really, really, really easy to block.
Yeah.
Like really easy. So that means that they're going to have to go much higher density with with towers in order to get 5G out there. And it falls off very rapidly. I mean, think it's same with wireless. So when things started going wireless with like 5G, you know, 5G does not have the same penetration that 2.4 does.
Right. So when you say block, you don't mean like nefariously block. You mean like there's trees around. It's blocked.
No, I mean put it in your back pocket and turn away from the tower, and
your body is now blocking it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or sorry, face the tower. Yeah. Yeah, and I think one of the it was on Tech Meme Ride Home, the podcast. One of the articles that he cited, one of the tests that the guy did when he got his 5G is he found 5G signal in the corner. He brought it up and he tested it, and then he turned around and he tested it and the 5G went away.
Yeah.
So yeah, the body blocking is very much a thing.
I mean, if you remember though, that's exactly how spotty cell service was 20 years ago when we were all first starting to get our devices. So that's exactly what I mean. It's just not there yet. It probably will be. It'll come around. It might take 10 years to do it, but it'll come around. I mean, things seem to be moving faster now than they used to be. I don't know if you've noticed that, but so maybe it won't be 10 years. Maybe it'll be 2 years, but you know.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about something a little smaller. Garden gnomes. Smaller.
Garden gnomes. No, not garden gnomes. It's the GNOME project.
Oh, I thought it was what was that? What was that cartoon with the gnome?
David the Gnome?
David the Gnome. I thought it was
from
David
like
the Gnome.
back in the 80s. Yeah, David the Gnome. I hated that show. David the Gnome was not a cool gnome. He didn't like pickpocket anybody. No, wait, no, gnomes. That's halflings. Gnomes are good at building things, right? They're all about like engineers.
Yeah, they got the goggles.
Right.
All steampunky.
Steampunky.
All right. So Gressic the Gnome has landed.
Yep. GNOME 3.36. So if you run a Linux desktop and you run GNOME, like I am running this podcast on right now, I'm not on 3.36 yet, though, because updating the day before a show is usually a bad idea.
Live a little.
So basically, there's a bunch of graphical improvements, and what I mean by graphical, they're basically some UI elements have been redesigned. Jason thinks they look like macOS because he thinks everyone's trying to copy macOS.
No, it's very Mac looking.
There's a do not disturb toggle now in the UI, which is, I don't know, kind of neat. Like I like the concept. I never really thought about that as something that I needed, but it's cool.
It comes in really handy when you're on like conference calls. And people are sending you nasty messages about other people in the conference calls, and you turn do not disturb on so it doesn't show up.
It might be nice to use, I mean, literally while I'm doing this show, right? Not having notifications pop up could be handy.
Hey,
so that'll be nice. They've improved the screen lock page. They've sort of like consolidated the screen lock at the login page, apparently. I don't know what that gets you, except maybe fewer lines of code, which might make things more efficient. I think they did say there were speed improvements, though I didn't read that deeply into the article to find out.
Yeah, major performance improvements.
Right there, major performance improvement. And maybe that's because they combine the screen lock and the login page.
Yep, probably.
GNOME claims that this update also brings performance improvements to the GNOME desktop. Now, I think GNOME performs decent, but hey, better is better, right?
Yeah, GNOME has always performed decent. I like GNOME.
Yeah. Now, GNOME 3, when it first came out, was like such a big change.
Yes.
That it was kind of problematic. But Fedora rolled it out in like, what was it, 15 or 16? And I don't think GNOME was ready yet.
No, maybe not. But I mean, Fedora has also always been bleeding edge.
Yeah, they're pretty bleeding edge. So that's part of it.
They were. I remember a certain neighbor of mine in the cubicle next to me installing that, and the flurry of 4-letter words over the next couple of days was amazing.
Yeah, GNOME 2 it was working pretty well. I mean, GNOME 2 had a much simpler interface. GNOME 3 just changed so much that I think I switched to LXDE for a while because I couldn't take GNOME 3. It was that bad. It was that bad.
Between the two of us, we had tweaked the hell out of GNOME 2 and made so many changes to it.
Yeah.
And then GNOME 3 came along and threw all those out the window, and you had to learn the GNOME 3 way to make all the changes.
And the fact that even right now on this machine, because I'd only recently reinstalled Fedora on it, because like I said a couple months ago now, I got a new laptop. Yeah. Things like the minimize button in your Windows, it's not there. Like, you have to right-click on the title bar and click minimize to minimize a window. That bothers the hell out of me.
There's I forget what GNOME calls it, but their
GNOME
registry
tweak tool
thing that they have. So you can go in and change that.
GNOME tweak tool lets you change so much about GNOME. Yeah. But yeah, it's GNOME. When GNOME 3 rolled out, they made certain design choices that were based around how certain people were expected to work. And then they just sort of hid all the things that that didn't fit that particular workflow, and it was really annoying. I thought it was odd for them to simplify it like that. Now, over the years, I've gotten used to it, and I get it. I get why they did it that way, and I'm happy that you can turn a lot of that stuff back off. So, but whatever. The point is, there's a new version of GNOME 3.36, which is, I don't know. We'll see. They say there are significant. You will have a noticeable difference in the performance when using a distribution with GNOME 3.36.
Hopefully that's a positive difference.
Yeah, right. I hope it's positive. There's a clock redesign. That's great. User documentation update. GNOME setup assistant improvements.
Nobody reads the documentation. Why waste time on that?
Well, they've improved it. Maybe everybody will love it now. Oh, and I watched the video that's in here. This might sound simple, right? So, GNOME 3 when you set your desktop wallpaper, you can also set the lock screen wallpaper. And I always thought it was weird. Like, I don't really care what my lock screen wallpaper is because no one ever really sees it. When it's locked, the screen usually goes to sleep, so you don't really see it. I guess they figured that that's not really a feature that people cared about, so now they've changed it so that the lock screen wallpaper will automatically simply be a blurred version of your background wallpaper, which I think makes sense. It seems weird that it took them that long to get there, though. So, that's it about GNOME
Watching
336.
the video, quiet.
Oh, you're watching the video? Okay. So I'll go on to talk about Google and their TV problems.
I do like that they compare like what it looked like before and after.
Yeah.
which is nice.
There are some nice differences. They went with some different UI elements. They went with they have like an application grouping mechanism now where you can group things inside of the app drawer, which I guess was there before, but I didn't know it. But they changed it slightly, and it looks a little nicer, works a little nicer now. So, cool stuff.
Cool.
Fedora probably has it already, and I just haven't installed it. I don't know.
All right, so let's talk about cool. Let's go from talking about cool stuff to talking about uncool stuff.
This is frustrating. So 9 to 5 Google has an article. Google blocks its Android TV partners from also using Amazon's Fire TV. Now, I kind of get this, but I'm disappointed. So basically, this article is all about how if you are a TV manufacturer who is licensed, I guess, or partnered with Google to run Google TV on your television.
TV.
Android TV, I'm sorry. Which, by the way, I had forgotten existed.
Right.
Like, I'm an Android guy, and I forgot that Android has a TV. Android has a TV platform. So that's how popular it is.
Right.
Maybe people use it. I don't. I'm a Roku guy. I've always used Roku. I like how it's disconnected from my devices. Usually it's just a thing I plug in and I can upgrade and replace whenever I want. But whatever. I do use some Chromecasts, but that's not this. This is literally like an Android distro that runs on a TV.
Yeah, it's just like think of the Roku that's embedded in the TV, that sort of thing.
It looks a lot like Android Auto. If you look at the UI, I don't know if you've ever seen Android Auto, but
no,
the UI looks very similar to Android Auto, which is funny, except that TVs don't generally have a touch screen. So how this works, I guess you just have to fiddle around with your remote and get to different things. But
right.
Whatever. The point of the article, which we're not getting to, is that if you're a TV manufacturer and you're a partner with Google that you run Android TV on your devices, you are literally forbidden by contract, apparently, to run a competitor. Now, they call out specifically forked versions of Android TV, such as Amazon's Fire TV. Apparently, Amazon's Fire TV, just like Fire Tablet, is just a fork of the Android TV application in the same way that Amazon's Fire Tablet is a fork of Android, the mobile OS. So, yeah, this seems like...
This feels very wrong. This feels
wrong.
It feels like it's against the. I mean, I don't know if this is GPL or not, but this feels very much against the spirit of something like the GPL.
Yeah, so I mean, at its core, Android is, I believe, I don't know what license it's released under, but it is open source software. Let's find out. The first hit on Google says it's under the Apache license. You think Google would know, right?
One would
Open
think.
source code for Android itself is released mostly under the Apache license. Anybody is allowed to download the source code and change it however they like, but they're not required to make their changes available in source code form to the public. So that explains why everyone's able to download Android and do what they want with it and build it in such ways like Amazon does on their Fire tablets. But Google, of course, has their special sauce that they built into it.
I'm sure
things like the Android market and whatnot. Yeah. Right. So that's what makes Android TV and not... I don't know. Is Android TV released in the same way, or is it a variant of Android? I suppose it's a variant of Android.
Yeah, I don't know much about it. I've never actually seen it, so.
I mean, this, like I said, I forgot it existed. This picture in this article is the first time I've actually seen it.
But the screwed up part is it's not if you put Android TV on, TV X, you can't also put Fire TV on it. It's no, if you are company X and you ship anything with Android TV, you are forbidden from shipping anything with Amazon Fire TV.
So if you want to make two different lines of TVs, one using Amazon and one using Android or one using Google, you can't. You actually cannot.
And when Nate forks it and makes Gangrel TV OS, you're not going to be able to use that.
You can't run that either. Right. It does seem very contrary to the usual open source model.
Yeah,
and that's kind of frustrating.
Apparently, this is who are they talking to? Some guy, an unnamed employee from a major TV manufacturer, said that this is completely unique to the TV industry.
Interesting.
So I don't know. Maybe the TV industry is really weird. But apparently, it's working because Google, I guess, says that 6 out of 10 major manufacturers were making Android TV and not Amazon Fire TV.
I mean, all this. I mean, I don't love Amazon. That's no secret. I don't love Amazon's Fire line of anything. Their Fire tablets or their Fire TVs or their whatevers.
I'm not a big fan either.
I don't like their smart speakers because I think that they're overhyped for what they are. But this would make me not buy an Android TV, knowing this. Like, if I had a choice between an Android TV and anything else, I would pick anything else, knowing this. Well. Good job, Google. I mean, you know me, I've run Android on my phones, except for that iPhone that I had for a year, for the last, 8 years or so. And I like it. It's a good platform for me. It fits my preferences better than the iPhone did. iPhone wasn't bad, but, and I generally support Android. I like Android, but this, I do not like this. I don't like the way this is portrayed. I don't like what they're doing here. And if this is all done in truth, then, and I have no reason to think that it's not, but I mistrust everything I read on the internet anymore. This makes me upset. I would not get an Android TV at this point.
Yeah. Yep.
So moving on to the other vendor that I don't like.
Yeah, let's talk about rockets.
So, AWS Bottle Rocket. Oh, this is from SDX Central? Okay. AWS Bottle Rocket launches into Container OS space. So guess what? Just about said Android. Guess what? Amazon is getting into the container market in the same way that pretty much everyone else that's gotten into the container market has, by making their own container OS. Just like Rancher wasn't a container OS, was it? Just like CoreOS and Atomic. Was Rancher?
Yeah.
Okay, just like Rancher and like Atomic was, and like CoreOS is, and there's probably others at this point.
Canonical's Ubuntu Core, VMware's Photon. Yeah.
VMware doesn't count.
Hey, they have Photon, man. I mean, it's a really cool name for an OS.
It is a cool name.
If it wasn't VMware, I'd think about running it.
Yeah, just because of the name? Good marketing there, VMware.
Yes.
The problem is you attach the VMware name to it, and that shot it down. So if you could just change your company name that we don't know about it, maybe we'll run it. So, as you'd expect, this is just another stripped-down Linux OS. I don't know where its base comes from. They don't really go into that in the article, unless I missed it. But it's basically, it's like OS Tree, even though I don't know if it is OS Tree, but it's like an image-based operating system where it pulls down a new image when you want to update it instead of individually updating packages, which I presume gives you an easy rollback mechanism similar to what CoreOS gives you, and I think what Atomic gave you. Was Atomic like that? Atomic was like that, right?
Yeah, it was.
It was OS Tree, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was OS Tree.
Yeah, I think Core uses OS Tree as well, but I'm not certain.
No. I'll
actually,
find out when I start running it.
I actually have not touched CoreOS yet, so it is what it is. But anyway, it's just like all the other container distributions. It's supposed to link into Kubernetes. It's designed to work well with Amazon's EKS. Surprise. I don't know. In fact, Jason, you were looking for this before we started the show. I don't know if it's an easy thing for you to just download and run on your own machine.
So there is a GitHub repo for BottleRocket, and you can compile it yourself and run it. It basically, they say right in it, we are in the process of building this for Amazon. And that's who it's optimized for at the moment.
Yeah, knowing the way Amazon does things, I don't think that their intention is to ever release this in an ISO or whatever you can download and install. We'll see. That I could be wrong, but they didn't release Amazon Linux that way.
I thought there was a way to get Amazon Linux for.
I'm sure there's a way. There's always a way. It's Linux. But it's not like you can go to AWS and go to a thing in your AWS console and download an ISO of Amazon Linux. Unless I'm wrong. I could be wrong.
Amazon Linux download.
You're going to find a GitHub repo where you have to download it and compile it yourself.
Triggered my look things up on Amazon. Let's try it that way instead. Running Amazon Linux 2 as a virtual machine on-prem. They give you, you can download a seat ISO to set it up and run it.
Which, by the way, is basically like running RHEL.
Yeah. It's based on RHEL, I think, right?
Yeah. So, anyway, another container distro, just what we needed.
Yes.
Made by Amazon. Made by Amazon for Amazon is what I should say, because I don't think that you're their target market, man. Even if you want to run it on-prem.
I need to do something with my machine, and
yeah, no, I get that. I've been toying with since I run my stuff on DigitalOcean. I basically have a DigitalOcean droplet that runs containers, and all of it's self-contained. I just have a spot in the file system where I store all my data, and I've been thinking it's on CentOS 7, and I'm like, okay, I need to get to 8. It's been long enough. It's time to move to 8, which means I'm going to have to move my Docker containers to Podman, which shouldn't be a big deal, except that I'm using Docker Compose, which the last time I looked was not supported by Podman. Maybe that's changed. I don't know. So it's really got me rethinking how I have these things architected. Not only that, but I have to move about 30 gigs of data from the current droplet to a new one. So I'm like, well, the storage, I should probably get the storage detached from the VM, and I should probably maybe move the databases into a database instance on DigitalOcean, and I'm rethinking all this stuff. I don't know where I was going with this. Basically, I'm trying to figure out how to leverage. DigitalOcean has a thing that's similar to EC2 buckets, not EC2, but S3 buckets that they call Spaces. Was it Spaces? I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That has like a S3 style interface, object store. That's it, an object store interface. And I'm trying to figure out how I can take my WordPress instances and put them on a smaller droplet, move the databases into a database instance, and then connect it to this Spaces object store. Could be a fun little project coming up. I don't know. It'll get me onto CentOS 8 as well, and Podman, and simplify my, well, I guess I don't know if you want to call it simplify, change my container deployment. However, it will not be on AWS Bottleneck. Sorry, BottleRocket.
BottleRocket. AWS Bottleneck.
Freudian slip, I suppose. So that's all the news we had for tonight, unless you added some news when I wasn't looking.
Always.
No,
I
you
don't think
didn't.
so, though.
You totally didn't.
No, I think that's all we got.
That's all the news. All right, folks. So as usual, thanks for listening, and thanks for watching live. If you did, we had a couple people. Well, we had Trooper in the chat. He probably went to sleep. It sounds like he was. He's in a time zone that is not really compatible with the time that we record our show, which is a shame. He's in the UK. So he probably dropped off, went to sleep. Unless you're not. If you're still there, hi, Trooper. Right. You can hear the show live if you want to while we record it on the second and fourth Thursday of every month, roughly. If you want to know when we're going live, like I mentioned earlier in the show, subscribe to us on YouTube and hit that notification icon. We've got like 200 subscribers now. It's awesome. We're just growing like a weed.
Like a weed.
Trooper's still here. Hi, Trooper. You can find us on all the socials, the Facebooks and the Twitters, not the Instagrams, because that wouldn't make any sense at all. By looking for Iron Sysadmin.
Take pictures of like the waveforms.
I could take pictures of like the mixer, the soundboard, so people can see the colors of the buttons.
Sounds legit.
Right. So Facebook.com/IronSysadmin and Twitter.com/IronSysadmin. I still haven't fixed our Slack invite, even though somebody asked me about it on Patreon. I'm very sorry about that. I guess I'll just have to fix the invite because moving to Matrix, I just haven't moved on yet. And if we're going to do that, I need to do a little bit of research and figure some stuff out. John the Nice Guy was helping me out figuring out Matrix. So I got to get back to that. And that's it. If you'd like to support the show via Patreon, as we mentioned earlier in the show, you can do so. Patreon.com/IronSysadmin. And I think that's all the stuff I have to say at the end of the show. Did I miss anything? I don't think I missed anything.
No.
I missed the outro music.
What color is that button?
Well, if the one that starts a show is green, what color do you think the button that stops a show is?
Yellow, of course.
Yellow.
Black?
Black. Black. It's black. Black as your soul.
I don't have a soul.
All right, folks. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.
Not all.